Gen Con is this week, and the competitive world of Destiny is ramping up for the upcoming battle.
We take a look at the coming weekend and all the changes that Fantasy Flight Games has made leading up to this major event.
This is episode 138, The World of the Competitive Tier.
You have been well trained.
No.
You don't have to carry a sword to be powerful.
I won't fail you.
Or do not.
I'm not afraid.
Please don't try.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for another week of Star Wars Destiny action here at the Chance Cube, where
Heyo.
we home of the world-famous Kim's Soapbox.
See? Maybe that's how we should introduce it.
That's right. And this week we welcome Cecil, one of our
Hi,
bloggers,
Cecil.
recent addition to the
I don't know
Chance
what
family.
side you're on, so look one of those two directions.
He's to your
Thank you.
right. Unless that's correct.
Everything is smeared and backwards. And...
I know, but as we always do when we kick off, we need to find out what has happened to Kim.
What? Me?
Yeah,
This week?
Your life story is always the most interesting part of the show.
Well, my dad tried to call in the middle of when we started if you guys weren't on here yet. So someday we'll turn that crazy loose on you. No, we introduced another friend to Outer Rim this week. So I'm still playing an FFG game, so they can't get mad at me. I'm just not playing our FFG game. I'm just practicing another one. And I played as Dr. Aphra, and I beat the boys. So, best husband ever and one of his best friends, we get together fairly often as we can, and game. And they usually kick my butt every single time, and it's fine, I'm used to it. And I swept them on Sunday. They won no games. Kim won all the games, and now apparently there's this, herd of grasshoppers falling from the sky in Vegas, so I might have thrown off the space-time continuum.
That's great.
What?
There legit is a story of these grasshoppers that are raining in Las Vegas.
Yeah, the grasshoppers are so thick that you can see them on the meteorological maps.
See what I did?
Wow, I didn't know that was a
You
thing.
call down the locust.
Ta-da!
I do have to say, Kim, you often refer to Jim as best husband ever, and I'm trying to figure out who you're comparing him to.
Well, I only have one husband, so to me, he is the best husband ever. So the bar's set at Kim level. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm
As long as
sure
you're not
as
comparing him
far
to,
as Sarah's concerned, you're the best husband ever. I'm sure Cecil is best husband, so it's fine.
All
He's
right.
my best husband ever.
Well, that clarifies things so much. Thank you so much.
And do you want to know? So the Kim life story of the night, because there's always something, right? I come home. So we've all talked about new dog Maple and how she's wonderful and lovely, and tonight she's on my not wonderful and lovely list because I came home. I put her needs above mine. We went for a walk. She got her dinner. I very quickly ran to the restroom. In the process, she ate my dinner and Jim's dinner. She ate our cheeseburgers.
Wow.
So I had to call Jim and went, "We don't have dinner." He's like 2 minutes from home. We have no food. That is thawed out anyway. The dog ate it. So
what? You haven't eaten dinner yet?
no, we did. He drove past our house and went on down to the store and upgraded us to steaks for dinner for the hassle.
Well, thus the moniker of best husband ever.
See, so he wins. He wins the internet. He wins the world tonight. Oh, I was so mad because I was so hungry. And they were bacon cheddar burgers. They were going to be delicious. Now they're in her belly and not mine.
Nothing's worse than a hungry, angry Kim. Let me just say.
It's true. It's pretty true. Oh, I was so mad.
Were you mad, Kim?
I was so mad. So that's been my night, running around going, "What are we going to eat?" And it's because it's already after 7 when this happened. And
Okay.
it's been an eventful hour or two.
I guess I could say that
new
I got to write all the thing at the place.
How'd it go? You
Millennium
haven't told me
Falcon
anything
Smuggler's
about this,
Run.
but I'm
I haven't
really
told you
sad.
anything about it. I know. No, it was a blast. I'm impressed. It's really hard. I don't want to spend the whole show talking about it, so I'm just going to say
Maybe we should do a sub show about it.
a sub show about Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. I also got to build a lightsaber. Now I see why it's worth $200.
I told you.
And
Did you get goosebumps?
I did. I got all the feels. They make it so you get all the feels when you build your own lightsaber.
I've only watched YouTube videos, but it looks cool.
I stayed away from YouTube. I wanted to experience it all firsthand.
I know, and we all know that I spoil myself on pretty much everything, so I just needed to know.
I do too. I'm surprised I haven't done it with this. I think I was just... Oh, never mind. That's a subject for another show. We'll talk about Jason's adventures with his employment.
Yeah, so I expect the full report in my inbox tomorrow, sir.
Wow. Okay.
I haven't got to hear anything about it, and I've been anxiously waiting. But I didn't want to bother you because I knew you were busy.
Yeah, it's me and the fam. Actually, me and Sarah and Ray and two guys from Coffee with Kenobi are heading there next Tuesday. I got my preview slots since you're not close enough.
This is bologna sandwiches. I would have flown down. But it's so hot down there right now.
It is gross. I will tell you that. Okay, that's all I got. Cecil, anything exciting with you?
What's new with you, Cecil?
Well, I got a son-in-law on Saturday, so that's always a plus.
That's cool.
My daughter got married,
much.
so no, she kept it cheap on us, which is always good. She's frugal, to say the least, but she did a wonderful job. She did all the decorations herself, so it was a great time. A lot of fun.
That's awesome.
Unfortunately didn't get a whole lot done article-wise, but we'll get back on that.
We'll let it slide this one time.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
We'll find a way to, spot something else.
We'll find absolutely. Yeah, so if you haven't headed over to our website in the last month or two, we've got a new team of writers who are just churning out some great stuff.
Awesome.
It's not the stuff that you see in our the other podcast groups that are out there who do the really hyper competitive stuff. A lot of the pieces that we're writing out there are really accessible to all levels of players, community building pieces, card analysis, fun deck builds, thematic deck builds. So if you
table etiquette, there was a little bit of that.
Yeah, so some different things out there to bring to the Destiny fold that we don't believe that there's a huge representation of. So hopefully you get a chance to check out thechancecube.com and all the articles that are there. And now we are going to jump into the Star Wars Destiny news.
Let me take that back, huh? You'll find what you need.
So last week we ran long because we had to talk about that other set.
I got on a soapbox, I bet.
No, it was just the other set, right? There's a new set coming, but we just had a set, so like everybody's like sets and cards and stuff.
And I don't know what to do. And which box do I open first?
What was it called?
And
Secret missions? No, secret plans?
Covert
missions. Oh, close enough.
Wow, that really had completely left my brain. Like you said it, and I went, I have no idea.
God. So we just
I'm getting kicked out. Like that's it. This is my last show, you guys.
No, you can't leave me, Kim. We didn't talk about the Continental Championship prizes that were announced, and there's a lot of stuff. I don't know how you guys feel, but I think the prize support from FFG, at least what they're doing for these high-level events, is really shaping up really nicely.
They're doing a nice job of listening to the community and getting a better finger on the pulse of the community. Maybe that's how I should say it. Mm-hmm. Of what is a worthwhile prize. And I that's why I think they've done a much better, because before it was like, okay, they're making them desirable prizes. I think.
Yeah,
I think you're right. I think that that the one thing FFG has done for sure is take a listen to what the community is saying, because the last few things that they've done, they've actually it was to better the play, better the prizes, and so I definitely think that they're. The change over to Jeremy, I think, has been an interesting one when it comes to that kind of flow.
For sure, I think it's interesting. I'm just kind of looking through the prizes here. We have them scrolling up on the screen for anybody who's watching the video or the live stream. So there's the artwork with the swooshes in the back that we saw at.
Did you say swooshes?
Yeah, the lines, right? I don't know what you call them, the.
But vibrant... they're doing this and. They're doing this on those swooshes, those lines are on the background of every one of their games.
right,
stuff.
and they were doing that with these, and they're doing it with Nova, and they're doing them with. But what I think,
Obi-Wan.
yeah, but what I think is interesting is that you go to the top 32 where they're doing kind of a new variant on extended art or alternate arts, where there is actually a template instead of it being a full art card. There's like they've changed the template of the alt. So it's almost like they have this like design that they're using for all their games, and they're like, oh, by the way, here's this other stuff. So it's kind of, I don't know if it's a reaction to the fact that those were so, I don't know. It's an interesting design choice, but it's...
Well, it makes it easier. I think it probably makes it easier to read that text, because sometimes some of that could get lost in even though the picture's really cool, you could lose some of that text. But I totally dig, and this is something they did at Worlds. I think that's the first time I saw it was Worlds a couple of years ago, that they put the little symbol and the year of what event, like, so that you know where that kind of came from. I think that's really cool.
Oh, that says the 19
from a collector's perspective. Yeah, like they did something like that in the cards from Worlds, and I still like those cards better, like the full art Kanan and the full art Ahsoka. Right? It was an Ahsoka. Those are probably still my favorites that they've done. Are you gonna show off the one that you have and I don't have? Is that what you're gonna do?
What? Go ahead.
You're gonna show off the one that you have and I don't have?
Well, I mean,
Jason gets all the cool stuff.
I don't anymore. Oh yeah, because they did that for Worlds, where they did they had the, well, this one had the Hall of
I don't know
18
what it is
stamped
about
in there.
that. That's my favorite art that they've done in cards for that, and I think it's just because it's very simplistic and it just focuses on the character. And hey, Monk is hanging out with us tonight. Hi, buddy.
Oh, we haven't seen Monk in a while. Hey, Monk. So again, I think they've done a great job. The tokens are interesting. I mean, I'm surprised they're going with tokens that have character likenesses, like photoreal character likenesses, as opposed to just like, you know, Darth Vader's helmet or something. So we've got the Ewoks, and we've got the.
Oh my gosh! As soon as I saw those, I'm like, Jason's gonna lose his mind.
God, those Ewok ones are cool, and I love the playmat of the father, brother, and sister.
That's really cool artwork. Actually, I really like the Wicket playmat. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I think Jason wanted the Chief Chirpa one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, okay, out of all these, someone else said it, so it was not just me. That someone at FFG really likes Asajj because she's always getting some art.
Oh, that's right. Asajj is the one who's the token here. Asajj and is it Wicket?
But the Night Sister zombie that artwork is terrifying.
It's Chief Chirpa. Just kidding. So I do need those. Oh no, it's just Ewok Warrior. Just kidding. I'm going to shut up now. And but not only that, but this week we got a look at the Prime prizes, which a lot of people are saying are even better. They did not go with the swooshy artwork, the swooshy background for the cards.
I really want that Wicket.
And for the Primes, so the Primes are the new version of regionals, or at least that's how they're billing them. We haven't seen a list of locations, although Artificery has put out a list of
our local store has one.
Presumed locations. I'm not sure where they got the list from, but there seems to be a lot more than regional numbers on there. But maybe that's why they're calling them Primes, so they're a little more plentiful, more to have. But they went with the Kylo Ray theme with this one to hinge on temporary truce and the themed cards that go along with it. I really like some of the artwork they've done with this one.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, I would agree. These are more like the art style from a couple years ago that I really like.
I think it's interesting that they did the way that they've got it set up, because they didn't do it with the last regionals. They had Plo and Mother, whereas this one they're kind of keeping it more thematic, which is something I think is a good way to run things. Mm-hmm. And then they're using the Kylo mats for the shields.
And those are pretty. I like that switch. Those are nice.
And I think we even mentioned on last show that it seems, I mean, the prizes have not always been of popular cards. I mean, that's how the game started, and it's kind of gotten better and better. And now thematic deck builds are even competitive. So even cards, Kylo Ray is on the, top 10 decks that are out there, I believe. And nice to have a whole suite of cards that can kind of be prizes for that.
It's a nice way to show it off if you're playing, especially if that's a deck that you're playing, and then you take it and you get these. Like that would be really cool to be able to switch them out.
For sure.
They totally got the like. I mean, I don't know how I have some. I know a lot of players have tokens that match a character or are some shape other than the little shields. So it's I find it amusing that they've picked up on that as well.
Well,
so we've got the Ewoks, we've got the Kylo shield ones. You're like, oh, we can do that here. Like, hang on.
Right.
Anything you can do, I can do better.
Maybe I don't know, man. There's some awful good token makers out there, and we'll see. I haven't seen any of these in person. I'm curious to see one in person to see is it screen, like what's it really look like. In photos, it's hard to tell. The Kylo ones look pretty sharp though, but the Ewok ones, I can't tell if they're like screen printed or if they're like acrylic with a picture over. It's real hard to tell. Yeah,
I mean, we'll put our hands on the ones, the
like
Nova ones, which I don't even know what they have because this is not Nova. This is the Continentals. I'm curious to see that die too. Like, I want to know how big this trophy die is for the Continentals.
Where did we see that I don't know where.
Someone said 4 inches, maybe?
It was like 4 inches. I don't know where I got that number, and I forget now. But
okay, I want a promo die. I think that. I mean, I know that'd be hard and not cost effective, but I just think that'd be cool.
We need a promo die. Jim got a 3D printer. If I start now, it might be printed by Nova. As slow as that thing's printing, that I've learned. If we start today, we might have a cube 4 inches tall by Nova. Won't be painted, but
Give it out to the person that can remember what episode number it was brought up.
That it started.
That's right. Oh, that's right. Jim's a painter, so he can just print stuff and then paint it nice.
Yep.
Jim may regret this.
I'm very impressed. He's so excited for this. Like, he's already been printing out tiles for our D&D campaign and stuff, so I'm sure minis are next. But I'm impressed. He's a pretty good mini painter. And he got that 3D printer because of finishing up a commission that he did,
So it'll be interesting to see. So we've got Continentals, we've got Nova at the end of August, we've got the Primes sprinkled all throughout the next 3 months. We've got Worlds coming in October. I mean, there's a lot of excitement around the game right now because of all this. I'm wondering, can they sustain this past January, or how are they going to shuffle their championship season or their primes and store champs and all that stuff?
That we get. Like that winter lull that we always head into, and everybody just gets so restless.
But
I think they. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I think that they believe that the rotation is going to be the biggest thing in the new year, and I think they overestimate that the new set, the new starters, everything dropping. I think that's their biggest problem, is that they think that's gonna cause the spike, as opposed to the store championships, having the store championships now, and then the regionals going into the new year, and kind of like making it all. I mean, look at a calendar and kind of make everything work out so that you're doing some sort of championship right before a set drops or as a set drops, so that people are getting used to the old cards to do that. That seems to be the one thing that if there's anything that I could say for FFG that they haven't really gotten right, it's that kind of getting the cards out and making it in such a way that they don't always have to say, nope, they're not, these cards aren't legal for this tournament. Instead of realizing, okay, the cards are coming out, so we need to set up our tournaments for either just before it or a couple weeks after, so there's not that questioning.
That's true. I believe if they can work it out so that Worlds next year is a full 6 sets, I think that's what I'm hoping that's what they're working towards, and they can figure out this release cycle, to your point, in conjunction with the store champs primes this season right now. And of course, Continentals is always been kind of irregular in terms of when they happen around the world. So
yeah, because some of those you're reliant upon big conventions like Gen Con and that kind of thing for those to happen, and unless they I don't see them doing this, making a move and pulling them from those types of events.
No.
I just don't. That I can't see them doing that. Why? But
I mean, I hear next year the Continentals are going to be in South Charleston, Ohio.
Boy, howdy.
In your backyard.
Not a very. We could go down to the park. It's not a very big backyard. We could go to the Opera House. We could do it there. That's where we have Nerdapalooza. But you can get about 100. But you can only get about 150 people in there. So, and no one would find the town because you'd blink and you'd miss it. And we have no parking. So yeah.
If we all converged for Continentals in South Charleston, would we outpopulate the local populace?
Yes.
That would be great.
Yes, you would. I think the village population within itself is only like 2,000 people.
Village?
We are a village. It takes a village, Jason. We're a village.
Oh, that's
When's
awesome.
the last time you guys had a barn raising? That's hilarious.
We had a barn burning, not on purpose, but not too long ago. Out of town.
Well,
So we'll have to have a barn raising after that. So there is that.
Oh, man.
That makes sense.
Well, to get as we ramp up towards this season of events, FFG has really, I don't know if you want to say listen to the community or trying to up their competitive game, but there's been a lot that has come out in the last, even 5 days regarding the ramp up to these types of events. So let's go ahead and jump in to talk about the state of the competitive event.
But you know what I always say? Speak softly and drive a big tank.
So perhaps the most interesting thing, I think, to come out of the last week has been the official release of FFG's floor rules. This is something that FFG has had like a 3-page event standards document, and now they've got a 18-page how to slap your wrist if you do something wrong document, and
how to officially slap your wrist if you do something wrong.
Right. So I don't know. I
They
mean,
need an official FFG slap bracelet to put on you should you incur an infraction.
infraction. Before we kind of jump through this in section by section, like what any initial thoughts or any, glad we have this. This is difficult. This is needed. Anything like that?
It was. Oh, you said don't say that part. Okay, I won't say it.
Go ahead. You can say it.
No, you said. No, I agree with you that it was. I think there was clarification needed.
Mm-hmm.
Did we get all the clarification that we needed? No, but that's because there's just a lot of gray area, honestly, and I can understand that. There's some stuff that needs addressed, but how do you address it when it's a giant gray abyss?
Sure.
That's the discussion that I heard. Is like, do you not address it at all, or do you at least put something in there so it's somewhat covered? So I'll tip my hat to them for at least trying to clarify a lot of gray things as best they could.
Again, I think that they either didn't realize how big this game could get, and so they never thought that they would have to have something like this. And so when looking at it now, sometimes putting something out just to put it out, it's not necessarily good. Like you said, it makes things cloudier. It's something that's needed. I mean, I remember the big scandal that happened. I think it was California where there was the whole stream thing. I mean, we need something so that the community doesn't do the work of the vigilante, which is kind of what happened with the person that had that trouble. I think he took a lot of harm, a lot of attacks. But I mean, again, when you do something and you're caught like that, it's hard to not at least apologize and try and disappear for a little while. But something needed to be done to stop those kind of things. I'm afraid that this is going to cause somebody that accidentally played a card, whereas before we might have said, okay, no, that card needs to go to the discard pile or something along those lines. It kind of takes that out of our hands now. Now we're going to be raising our hands and calling for a judge every 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
That's my fear, I guess.
Because I could totally see some of those. Oop! I accidentally drew 6 cards. That sometimes just happens with nerves at a big event. Especially if you're not a super competitive person and maybe you've only been to a few events. I mean, it just happens, and so I think I'm glad that they still kind of have a little bit of verbiage in there that it's up to the judge's discretion. So I think most well-run events are going to be like, hey man, I totally get it. That was an accident. Let's fix it.
Yeah.
And then as long as you're not sitting there repeating that action.
Right.
If they tell you once, you probably aren't going to forget again, I would think so.
For sure. So they went through, and of course this document is designed to govern all of their competitive games, which I think is aggressive, because they have 1 customizable card game and 3 figurine games and miniatures, and it's lots of different types of games they're trying to fit in
to kind of cover. Yeah, so you could have a lot of different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But they're splitting their classifications into a casual tier and a competitive tier, which I think is interesting because I believe previously there were 3 or 4, at least within Destiny, there was like, or maybe it was like Premier and local or casual. I don't remember.
Yeah, you're right. There was more than there was a lot of.
Mm-hmm. So Kenjo is back. Look at that.
There's trouble if I ever saw it.
Casual. So our casual tier is your local play nights and your store champs, and then your competitive tier starts at your primes and upwards. So they've actually looked at regionals now as this competitive tier and higher, which I don't believe they had before. Which is nice to see that they're trying to elevate the quality of those events. I think from this place, they talk about the role of the judge. Basically saying FFG believes that the head judge's decisions are final. And then they get into a whole section of penalties, which is really, this is new for them. Different types of warnings that carry different points. And then going as far as to create a glossary of different types of actions that would cause different types of warnings to be issued.
I think it's fair to lay some groundwork to that. And like to Cecil's point, I mean, I hope like a casual player like me or somebody going for the first time isn't scared away by some of that. Like, oh my gosh, if I make one mistake, then I'm going to get, I could get disqualified from the event. And so I hope people don't look at it that way. But I think these are loose enough. I'll steal that phrase from the chat too, that they're a little loose enough to still give that leeway that it's like, as long as you have somebody who's running the event correctly, it's not, or effectively.
Right. So yeah, I do think it's interesting. There hasn't been a lot of chatter about this, how much FFG wants to hear about people who are getting points. So they talk about if a player, anybody who gets 3 or more points in an event, they want their name and why they got the points. And so almost sounds like they want to try to keep some sort of running list of these players, to the point of maybe ultimately having some sort of disqualification list or ban list from events if this stuff gets out of hand.
Which so from a situation that we've seen a couple of times, I think I get to exactly what you're thinking. Like, is that, and maybe it's not a bad idea, because if you're bouncing around going to event after event and racking up 3 and 4, you're not getting yourself disqualified, but you're getting some infractions at every single event. I could see them at some point going, all right, what do we need to do about this?
Mm-hmm.
And is it a problem, or is it not a problem?
Right. Especially if it's the same type of infractions. If they want to know that kind of thing, the same person going to 2 or 3 in a row, and he tries to pull the same type of thing, that I guess maybe that's something that FFG is going to take a bigger look at, by the fact that they're just they're asking for anybody that has more than 3 points. That's an interesting thought.
And I can think of some feedback that's happened in the community where it's been that somebody has been at multiple events having similar issues, and this is one way to maybe start keeping an eye on that a little bit better. I mean, because otherwise you're like, well, there's not a whole lot they can do if they're if this person has a history of this or is a known this. What well, that's someone else, that's the community speculation of that, and whether it's true, this gives them factual documentation. To me, it's instead of it being hearsay from somebody else, or, well, that player just doesn't like them, da-da-da-da. Well, look, man, this guy or gal, it could be either, has incurred penalties at the last, 4 out of 5 events that they've been at. Interesting. I had missed that. Because there's a lot of pages on this. So, right. I had missed that on that. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's just
really... And I guess if we can think of situations that this kind of stuff applies to that we've seen or heard about in the community, then I guess that speaks to, well, something was needed to at least have a tracking mechanism or be aware of it or prevent this kind of toxic interaction at an event. Do you have a toxic person going around just really causing issues at every event they go to?
Mm-hmm. I mean, Destiny is never... I mean, Destiny's always been... It was originally supposed to be a casual game, right? It was never intended to be as competitive as it's gotten, and now that it is here, now that FFG's their entire OP department has changed hands for one reason or another. It almost seems like they're really ramping up into a different type of organized play structure I don't know if they've got some people who are looking at the success of the OP structure behind Magic and Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! To try to take some best practices so they can kind of bring their games up to that level, because they haven't had games at that level before.
Do either of you know? Do they have do either of you know? Do they have point structures or penalties like this in like Magic and stuff like? I don't play it competitively to even know.
No, I don't play it competitively enough to get that. No.
I don't know if anybody else does. I know a couple of friends play, but I didn't know if they did penalty points like this at those types of events.
Mm-hmm. I would assume that I know the Magic rules are so detailed that there's got to be some sort of way that they deal with this kind of stuff. I find it interesting that their document talks both about gameplay disruptions and event disruptions. So whether it affects the game you're playing or it actually affects the quality of the event itself.
That's good.
How to deal with being late or missing a match altogether.
I think that's respectful to address, because while most people are on time and or they don't leave the area, I think we've seen it happen before where somebody's just vanished and you don't know if they've dropped or what they've done, and that's not fair to their opponent to have to sit around and wait to start the game, and now you're delaying the entire event if your match didn't start on.
Something I didn't have a chance to read this with everything that was going on last week, the whole thing, but does it talk about stalling or anything like that? Because that would be an interesting thing, especially going against mill players. I know that there are people that will tactics when they see that they're getting close to the end of the round, as opposed to trying to go to that next turn, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, there is a slow play that they...
Yeah, there is. So they actually they say, and I quote, "There can be a very fine line between slow play, which is unintentional, and stalling, which is a form of cheating." When you talk about gray area, slow play is probably about as big as they come, because sometimes it can be very obvious, and sometimes it is not. I mean, you can slow play well enough that it doesn't appear that you are slow playing or that you are stalling.
Very open to interpretation, I would say.
And especially
in a game,
maybe
the opponents, I feel like you were stalling the whole time, but maybe you were just, I know that if I get going too fast, I don't think through all my choices and I make an incorrect play for myself, not a cheating play, but I shouldn't have played that card yet. I should have waited. So some people, I've got to play this round slower than when I play locally. I've got to think through my actions instead of just quickly reacting and messing up. So that's I agree. That's one of those gray abysses.
I do not envy judges who.
No, it's a hard job, and so and a lot of they're not. I mean, maybe they get a promo, but they're not getting paid to do this. So
right.
Be kind.
Can you imagine the first time a judge gets called over Were they going to start a timer? I mean, how do you judge something like that? I mean, there's just no. I mean, I guess that's what I was thinking when I said that it's hard when you put something like this out to cover all the bases. How do you judge against that? I mean, besides standing over the table, and then that's taking the judge away from the other stuff that he has to do.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan that they've added a whole section on unsportsmanlike conduct, because I think this is probably the best section that they have in here, and gives ways to kind of manage that type of conduct at an event, whether it be minor infractions or major infractions, because FFG really wants to preserve the games are supposed to be fun. That's everything that Chansky was built on, is bringing people together through gaming, and FFG and any gaming companies agree with that. That's if people don't have fun when they play together, then what's the point of playing? Yeah. Well,
and in high competitive play, emotions can run high. I mean, they just you stress yourself out, or you're whatever it is, and so I'm glad that I agree. I'm glad that they had kind of at least put something in there for that.
No, and I think that's the ability to have that kind of stuff in there, just for the people that do get frustrated. Or, I mean, I was at a tournament where somebody was playing really fast and the other person wanted time to think, and something was played out of order, and the guy got upset, and instead of blowing up, he said, "I need a minute," got up, walked away from the table. I think that's the kind of thing where, I mean, I would rather somebody walk away from a table than to be aggressive or blow up, or, I mean, cause a scene. I mean, so those kind of things, and knowing now that there's some sort of penalty if you do blow up like that, I think that hopefully that'll stop anything before it starts anyway. I mean, after all, this is supposed to be, I mean, it's supposed to be fun. You're supposed to be having a good time, and it's as competitive as it's gotten. You can still do both. You can be competitive and you can have a good time.
Yep.
And then we come to the most interesting part of this document. Kim's already snickering because she knows where we're going with this.
I don't know what you're talking about.
There is now it's basically one full page of information on the concept of bribery and collusion, the intentional throwing of a game for one reason or the other. Now, to their point, the conceding a game to the other player is not illegal. Obviously, you can do that. You can say, I lose, you win, congratulations. But they are saying that at any point, if that is discussed during the tournament, whether you are bribing them with prizes or you both agree to either to split the pool or whatever, like if that conversation happens, then that is considered collusion or bribery, and that will result in a disqualification of the event. Right? It's not just the game; it's the whole event.
It's the whole. I'm pretty sure it's. And if you take the bribe, you're going bye-bye too.
Yeah. No, it's a lot, and this is very interesting because this happens quite a bit. It has happened quite a bit in Destiny. FFG has actually been involved in some of the decisions to go this route, and this is of course before they had this type of document or rules. But there have been those final matches where either instead of playing by the rules, they'll just play one game to determine the winner, or they will officially someone will concede to the other player because of someone's got their rules ticket, the other person used their rules ticket, prizes and all this stuff. And they're saying as soon as that conversation happens during the event, that is illegal, and both players get disqualified
if
both participate in the collusion.
I think so, but if they're both talking about it, then I think they're gonna no collusion. That makes me giggle. There's so many anyway. Okay. I'm looking. I'm not pulling out my soapbox yet. It's convincing somebody else to concede. I mean, like as you said, like there are positives and negatives I can't believe Kim's saying this, to some of the collusions, only because I've seen, in fairness, hey man, like, why don't we just, and I didn't think that it was, we played it out, but then we split the box kind of win.
Mm-hmm.
And so there have been instances where things like that have been discussed at an event where it didn't necessarily have an impact on like the top 8 and that kind of stuff. So it's unfortunate that maybe now you can't really have that conversation, although that's probably maybe less what happens most of the time. The other one is when it's like that and there's kind of a plan and top 8, that kind of stuff is skewed on an event because people are dropping game, because something like this has happened.
Mm-hmm.
And if you watched any spy or mobster movie, then I think that you would learn to talk about it. Like, this is going to be very hard to enforce.
Yep.
How do you prove that someone did or did not have a conversation? Unless they were dumb enough, I'll say it, dumb enough to have it in open like, so let's just chat it out. Like, well, look, man, I'm going to drop and you. So, because that used to be, I mean, probably some people did, because it was an okay conversation to have, even though it wasn't fair.
I'm less upset about it. I'm less upset about the top table, even though that's usually the most exciting game. And when they throw the last game of the event, it's like, wow, that's a disappointing end to the day. But that's from a content creator standpoint. But I think Mike Hill in the chat kind of mentioned when you collude to mess with the top 8 of an event, like that's affecting a lot of people. Because that's affecting strength of schedule. That's affecting potential matchups in the top 8. Because the strength of schedule may have plays you differently on the bracket. It's that can be that's a spot where I totally agree with this this setup. That's not cool.
And that's where it's like, and this is another point that Mike made, is it's more about having grounds to deal with a bad situation than it is to necessarily trying to catch people in it. And I totally get that. Like, now they have, because when those have come up before, people have had mixed feelings about what those end results were, on how it was decided, even if a judge was involved in it. So now this is how we're going to handle it. You're not going to wait till you've got to this point and then decide who within my group or whatever that I'm going to back off and let you go ahead and go to Worlds because I already have a seat there or something like that. I think that will stop those conversations from happening? No.
Yeah, I think that that people that have this, and I feel like I told you before at the beginning of the game, or before we started, I did it before this document came out. We had a box tournament at our store, and me and another gentleman was the top 2, and we still played the game, but we said, you know what, let's just we'll split the box. We'll figure that out, but we'll still play and have fun. But seeing this, I guess I can understand it. I mean, it's hard when you look at something like this, but when you're talking about the bigger events, the bigger things, they can't just concentrate on that. They have to look at everything. And if you're going to make the rule, you have to make the rule throughout. So, I mean,
for everybody, yep.
Yeah, I mean, I understand it. I feel bad that I participated in it, but I got some really cool legendaries out of it. So I guess I feel terrible, but.
But I mean, like, I feel like that's a more positive example of that, is where it's like, and I think probably more of us could be like, oh, I was at a store and we discussed something like that and no one was negatively impacted from what we could tell. I don't know if somebody who came in, 12th or something was mad about it, but I think if somebody's going to have a plan as to how they're going to go, that plan's probably been made before they ever got to the event.
Yeah.
If you're looking for that, because I don't think that most of the time when that kind of stuff happens, it's two people who don't know each other that's happening with. Most people, most of the time, they're going to play out the game.
Yeah.
The interesting part is, like you guys said, is if you're at the, well, I guess it's not regional, but I can't see it. What's the one? It's not regional anymore. Prime. If you're at the Prime and there's a seat on the line for Worlds, and one person's already got it, and you're at the final table, it's the final match of the day, I mean, having that conversation is going to be, or not having that conversation is going to be hard to have, because now you've got to figure out, okay, so this guy's going to walk away with 2 seats. So now we're going to have, I mean, he's going to still end up giving that away or selling it or doing something along those lines. So it's just, those are the kind of things that people are going, I think in the long run, people will say, well, why can't we figure out a way to do that ahead of time? Mm-hmm. I mean, give him the trophy, give him everything, give that person everything else. But if we can come to an agreement about the card, I think that more people will be, because I've seen that at a regional. I saw that at a regional where somebody said, well, I've already got my seat to Worlds, so let me have the trophy and you can have the seat to regionals. And it's interesting that, I mean, when you hear that happening, because they're the top 2, you never really think about it that way, that's actually a form of collusion. I mean, maybe some people do. I could be a bit daft, but when I'm looking at it, I just, as long as both parties agree to it. But that's interesting, because like you said, if you're dumb enough to have that conversation where 4 or 5 people can hear you, you both end up losing it.
You deserve to get caught at that point. But watch a spy movie, any mobster movie, teach you how to. Maybe don't do that. I'm not condoning collusion or bribery. No collusion. No collusion.
So the document ends with 2 pages on an appendix. So really, if you're heading to any event from a Prime upwards, I mean, I guess we got to see how well this document is going to be enacted, and we'll get a good taste of it over the next month or 2. But if this does become common practice for all these events, page 17 and 18 of this document outlines all the different. It's a good summary of the entire document in a nice grid format. Here's the type of problem, here's the penalty you'll get, and here's what it actually,
that's fair.
Here's what it actually means, and here's some good notes about it. So, and especially if you're a judge out there getting ready to run an event, especially on that level, this is a good cheat sheet for you.
Yeah,
so.
Well, and if you don't want to sit and read through every page of that, this is if you're just looking at the document to be like, okay, what was that all about? If you look at these 2 pages, it'll give you a pretty good overview without having to read the other,
Should have started with those 2 pages.
Nice.
The too long didn't read section.
So do you think with this that we will see the prime attendance drop? Because I know that with regionals, there was a lot of newer players that were coming out. That at least the regionals here in Michigan, there were some new people that were coming that were playing. But now with this, there might be a little less forgiveness for those kind of mistakes. Do you think that it could affect attendance for it?
I think it depends on who is running it, honestly, and the vibe of the local community. If the local community is very supportive and welcoming of new players, and those are the same people running the primes, I don't think you're going to have any problems.
Yeah, and I kind of wonder if you'll start to see who's running the event? Oh, that guy's really tough on penalties, or that girl's really she's fairly lenient, so I'll go to that event. I hope we don't and I don't see that happening, because they're going to have judges school, so you can go to... Well, no, not for Destiny yet. You can't do that for Destiny, can you?
No, which is a nice segue, Kim, into the... This is kind of news, and this is kind of where we get to the speculation part of the show. We're kind of running a little long here, but Magic: The Gathering has... I was watching some videos earlier, but it has essentially Wizards of the Coast that said, we're not going to deal with judges anymore. It's too much. There's too much going on. There's too many problems with their program, and the troubles they've had over the last couple of years with it. So they've basically said no more judges program. They're actually outsourcing judging to a group called Judging Academy, which is currently made up of a bunch of official Magic judges. But it's its own for-profit company that will certify people to be Magic judges. And if you go and pick this up from, I followed this trail of breadcrumbs that the Year Destiny's recent article kind of laid for us. If you follow the FAQs, this company is also in talks with FFG, and on launch day with the new judges program for Magic, they will be launching a judges program for Keyforge. So it lends us to believe that there is potential for this company to. I guess they're trying to be like the certifying. I guess a big goal may be for them to be the certifiable judge program for all competitive tabletop or card game type things, if they can get everybody on board. But it's interesting to note that Wizards and FFG are the two companies they're working with first. And it's interesting that Keyforge is the event that FFG is choosing for them to start with, to have official, level 1, 2, and 3 judges. And I'm curious to see.
Don't have them in your area.
I don't know.
I mean, if I grow up and I want to be a judge, and I go to judge school and I get my diploma, but I'm here in Central Ohio, and so what if you don't have them in your
if you don't
they
have
have
judges?
to have enough interest to want to go through judge school. If they're going to make that, we're only going to use judges that have gone through this program. I think they're going to be hard pressed, or they're going to have to put some serious incentives in place to get people to want to do that, take the time out of their regular life to be a judge. And
with Judges Academy, if you're a judge, you have to pay to be a judge. There's an annual fee to be part of this. It's almost like and someone kind of made an interesting comparison. It's like a trade school. It's like I'm an electrician,
but you don't get
so
paid
I'm going to be
the event.
Huh?
You don't get paid doing the event.
That is true.
Well, would that change
Maybe.
if you're going to have these specific judges and they're going to have to go to school and money's going to be paid to become a registered judge? Can you imagine the headache that would cause?
I feel like it would be like Notaries Gone Wild.
Well, Cascade pays their judges.
Well, that's true, because they hire them as staff for the event.
So yeah, they pay their head judge and their they get a head judge and an auxiliary judge for each of their Destiny events, and they get paid for the weekend. And that's a fairly decent hourly rate last time I checked.
I can't say I don't recall what it was whenever I saw
14,
it. I did
15,
forget about that.
$16 an hour.
So that's fair. But now that's going to be more complicated, because you're going to have to. And so then, is it you're a judge and this is how much you can charge for this tier of an event, or now do you run into so that's why I said Notaries Gone Wild. Notaries, and at least in my state, can only charge X amount of dollars for each there's a book that's all you can charge for that. So how do you? That becomes a whole other thing that you have to regulate to make sure judges aren't overcharging for their services.
And no one's going to regulate that, and no one's going to pay the judges. So you're basically getting it for the prestige.
And now you can no longer have volunteers because you official judge. I just feel like you're making a problem for yourself.
Well, Wizards has always kind of given their judges specially printed promo cards, which at one point I guess were worth a lot of money. So I'm assuming that this group sounds like they're going to do something similar. So if you're a judge, you get something for it, even though it's not money.
Keyforge is unique deck, so you can't give me a card that I can put in my deck. You can give me a deck.
Can they give you? Can they reprint?
I could have went and bought that for $10.
Does it give you special sleeves, or maybe a special key that you can forge?
Yeah. Yeah, you got that right. Good job. I'm impressed. I mean, Keyforge, the name might have given a little bit of it away, but I don't know. That's an interesting concept, because you and I were joking about it earlier today. Whereas I think it is good to have perhaps a training on how to handle some of these situations that could come up with giving points, and the experience the judge may have with someone who doesn't agree with what the judge just gave them, because that's gonna happen. Anybody watched, Yay Sports?
Sports ball. Yeah.
Unsportsmanlike conduct. So I think that's cool. So there's a consistency to how they're being trained, but then you're creating a shortage of judges in an area if you don't have enough people going through this training program, and they're available, because you're going to fly somebody out to judge an event. I don't know, maybe a big one, but not a local kind of thing, or not even a middle tier kind of thing. So I like the consistency of the training, but I don't know that. I feel like you might just be creating a bigger headache for yourself.
So do you think that's why they started with Keyforge instead of going right to Destiny, because Keyforge is still a fledgling type card game? I mean, as opposed to Magic, where I mean they have everything that they want. They they can do whatever they want. They're printing their own money basically, whereas Star Wars, Destiny, and Keyforge isn't to that point yet. So they're starting with Keyforge not because they like it better, but because if they're going to fail, they'd rather. Oh, I agree. Our local scene took a nosedive as soon as that game came out. But I won't be mean. I like Star Wars Destiny more.
We did one of these, because it was highly accessible $10 deck, and then the novelty of it wore off.
Mm. Well, if some people liked doing it because it kind of takes the deck building out of the whole thing,
it does.
and I can understand it. I mean, especially nowadays where you have different channels showing how overpowering different decks can be, and so they'll automatically build that. But I like getting in there. I like listening to Mike Hill and reading his articles and seeing the different things that come up with he does, or that
he's fun to play
Ewok
with.
deck. Yeah, that Ewok deck that came out that totally obliterated Django. Those kind of things are fun when you could come up with something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just when it's already made for me. Yeah, go ahead.
No, that you were just right. When it's already made for you, there's a small population of CCG players. I'm not that great of a deck builder, so Keyforge was somewhat like, oh, that's cool. Sealed's really cool because you don't know what you're getting at a Keyforge thing, but then what do I really do with that? I can't. It just has to live in the thing. I can't do anything with it again. Mm-hmm. If it was a mediocre deck, there's nothing else to do with it. So then you got all these packs of decks sitting around. But it's for people who like to accumulate a lot. It's a lot of the people I know who really enjoy deck building just can't stay into Keyforge because it's just lacking that excitement.
Yeah, you got an idea. You know what's going to come one way or the other, depending on what the person puts out, what houses he's playing, and so or they're playing. I'm sorry, I'm using the wrong pronouns.
Interesting.
They're playing.
So, but yeah, I'm interested to see how that judge thing plays out. I'm okay that it's not in Destiny yet. I kind of wonder if we don't see it. Destiny is so far along, and it's compared to what Keyforge is in its infancy. Is it something that you even try to put in at this point?
Right.
It would be an uphill battle to really get a judge to hear with that.
I was just thinking earlier today, if a judge program was rolled out well, it actually bring a level of respect is not the right word, but
I know what you mean.
Respect to the game. I don't know.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It gives a little pomp and circumstance if you have official judging for it.
Yeah.
Which Destiny could use. Fighting against, you have Magic, and then you have all the other CCGs. So anything to help you stand out.
Legitimacy. That's the word. Thanks,
there
Mike.
you go. Thumbs up, Michael. Good job.
In the end, all this being said, I think the trajectory FFG is going from an organized play standpoint. I think more so now than ever before, we can see the trend, and it's almost like there's a long-term plan for them.
I hope so.
It's not today we're going to do something different because we got this new group of people, but they're actually thinking through their steps and how they're going to roll it out and how they're going to make all of their games, particularly Destiny and X-Wing and Keyforge, how they're going to make them play better in an organized play setting. How are they going to make those organized play events more attractive, prestigious, whatever you want to say, and accessible to all players, especially considering that next year Worlds is going to be invite only. So there is this long-term plan to look towards. Now you have an event that's invite only, which is really kind of like what you talk about when you talk about the Pro Tour,
right,
for Magic and all those other things. So will FFG ever run cash tournaments? Probably not. But they are trending towards.
That doesn't mean somebody else won't.
Right, and they're trending toward this prestigious. They're trying to bring some prestige, trying to bring some legitimacy to the esport element of the game, or the tabletop sport element of the game, that it may not have had up until now. Yeah,
in a world where a teenager can win $3 million playing Fortnite, perhaps we can make a little bit of money.
Where's my nephew on that?
At some point, I agree. I think at some point somebody's going to monetize this and make make it more. I mean, it's already happened in Magic. I could see if Star Wars Destiny, if we're allowed to continue building this game and playing this game, I could see it taking off and being something special.
Mm-hmm.
Jason, licensing question. So technically, if they run a cash tournament using likenesses on Lucasfilm cards, wouldn't that be monetizing an IP that they don't, I guess they sort of borrow the rights on? I'm being facetious.
Let's talk about our question from last week.
There can be no mistakes this time.
So we wanted to know, now that I'm back where I belong, how do you store your dice collection? I store, not that you people care, but I store my dice collection in 5x7 plastic containers that I got at Meijer, I think. So they were meant to hold 5x7 pictures. So the dice fits in them perfectly. They close shut, and then all of them fit into a large carrying case. And it's almost full. That's what I use for my... They, at one point in time, were really well organized. They are no longer really well organized. Although we do at least know what's rotated out. Those got shifted, but then I had to get the Force Order Stormtrooper dice out, and so now it's just chaos. But
that is the exact same thing that I use. Except I have 3 different boxes of the what is it, 12 or 14 or whatever it is, of those, and one for each cycle, so that I can make it a little bit more, I guess,
that's
neat.
Probably the better way to do it. So at least this box is, and we've never written on any of them either, so you could probably dry erase or even wet erase marker them. So if you
I have a label maker.
That's the way to do it.
Nice.
Maybe I'll have Jim 3D print a sign.
3D print awakening sign to put on top of. There you go.
Well, James Angstman said he uses those little square foam mats, and he said he made a dice holder, a card holder, and 2 deck holders out of a few mats.
That's cool.
I wonder if he's talking about the ones that we use those for X-Wing, that you can, like, they're foam, but you can pull out the sections that you want to pull out, and then your stuff fits in there nice and snug.
A lot of people use similar things to that. Mike Torres says, I've been playing since Awakenings, and my honest answer is, I don't know, man. I've tried so many different things, and not a single one has really been entirely satisfactory. The Faust boxes ended up costing just about the same as the larger Feldherr. And it says Seymour, so I didn't copy the entire post. Well, I'm a loser.
Well, that's a good thing. So you'll be able to see some of those Faust boxes, right?
Yeah.
If you come see us at the Nova Open.
Yeah, we got a bunch of those Faust boxes. I actually used Faust for... Was it Legacies? No, the one after Legacies.
I feel like I've seen this box.
What's after Legacies?
Across the Galaxy?
Across the Galaxy.
Yeah.
No. Or is it?
No. This one... Way of the Force.
Way of the Force.
Thank you.
Way of the Force.
I know I got this eventually. I love them. The Faust boxes actually have individual cutouts for the dice. I have to use 2 boxes a set since I tried to get 2 play sets because Sarah was playing before we had the child. Previously, I was using Battle Foam. Battle Foam sells foam inserts that have enough room for 4 dice in a row, and then I just threw those in some plastic drawers that you like $5 drawers you can get at Target, and they was fit 3 high, but they weren't portable. I think if we don't sell out of Faust boxes, I'm going to buy enough to get my collection in those because I do like them. I think they're really awesome.
Yeah. I feel like I did see those when we were down at one point. You showed me those.
Yeah, I do like them a lot.
They're nice looking. And I like the Feldherr. I've seen those, and I wish I'd picked one up. But Rick George says a Ziploc bag that's stuffed inside of a ceramic R2-D2. I dig it.
Joshua Levy, Faust MFG is amazing. I have a separate one for each set and order a new vault before each set releases. And Derek Bertram also agrees with Faust boxes. So it seems Faust is
nice.
Is a popular choice, which the design of those boxes is not all that in depth, but I think they are the right size, the right storage capacity to really make, especially have a full collection, and you like to deck build, and you like to pull out dice real quickly. They're a great way to see them all. So,
are they wooden? Am I crazy?
No, they're like they're like the paper card boxes. So they have two flaps that fold down the
okay,
front, but
okay.
inside there's
Yep.
the foam, so they're really
Yep, I'm with you
lightweight.
now.
And they're only, I think he charges $15 a box,
Oh,
but
not
it's
bad.
cheaper the more you get.
That's not bad.
So
No.
we should have
When you're talking about an investment, like dice or like the cards, you definitely want to find something that works and something. It sounds like the foam that will protect the dice from. I mean, even in what I use, they still rattle around a little bit.
They'll move some. Yep, which isn't great. I mean, over long term, you can scratch
Right.
up your dice.
I mean,
or,
if the game was holding value, I mean, totally would understand. Since the game doesn't typically hold value because the value of singles and dice are based on playability, not based on collectability. So it's not like, at no point will the Awakenings Darth Vader be the Black Lotus of, Star Wars
I don't know what
Destiny.
you're talking about.
But
Infinite's going to be a thing. Mike Hill's going to make it a thing. That's
I mean, maybe if this game is around in 10 years and there's like mint condition Darth Vaders with the mint condition die, maybe at that point the valuation will
I have
flip.
a couple of
But
those.
if there's ever a vintage format,
I like that.
I still think we need a vintage event where Awakenings is the only card you can play.
That's back. I can do that because then I can play Awakening and I'll be happy.
Awakenings at the new cost level for each character.
That I can't keep track of.
Ooh. That's exciting. Anyways, everybody, thank you so much for joining us tonight. If you're watching us live, follow, subscribe. I did see a follower there. Thank you, sir, for following us. If you are an Amazon Prime member, it is free to subscribe to us, and we do get the benefit from it, so we really appreciate that. Of course, with the Nova Open impending, this is the Twitch channel. You can see streamed live all the games from the Nova Open for all the different formats. If you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, hit the notification icon. We will flip all those videos from the Nova Open to our YouTube channel as quickly as humanly possible. If you're listening to us via Old School Podcast, hit us up a review on your favorite podcasting app. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much to Matthew Scott for keeping us alive on the Facebook. Thank you to our Patreons for supporting us and keeping us going. Head over to patreon.com/ChanceCube to see all the fun stuff that we offer. You too can join the Chance Cube Hangout on Facebook and get some of our cool gifts that we send out to our higher tiers. Last but not least, check out the App Store on the iPhones and the iPads for the Chance Cube's Price Watch. We try to keep it up to date with the most accurate prices for as many stores as we can possibly find, updated every night. So check that out. And with that, we say, check out our Facebook page. And pinned at the top, you will find this question. What deck is going to take the U.S. Continental Crown? Hero, Villain, Raylo, Droids, Supports, Aggro?
Ewoks?
Ewoks?
Ewok.
I would love to see an Ewok deck.
Anything with Chief Chirpa in it, I think has a chance to go all the way. Just because we got our own special one on the far right.
That Chief Chirpa thing's never going to leave me, is it?
Never
I honestly think we're going to see something we've never seen before. I think
I'd be okay with that.
I think
that's always exciting and fun.
The major competitive. The major competitive groups that have not been posting their decks on articles because they've got secret sauces.
Heck yeah, they're not going to share it. They'll share it after.
That's right. All right, that's it. Bye.
Yeah, they definitely keep it.
See you next week, kids. Thanks for joining us.
This has been The Chance Cube, a Star Wars Destiny podcast, a non-profit organization dedicated to building community through gaming. Visit our website for all things Star Wars Destiny, including our Price Watch, Meta Tracker, and latest articles from the Chance Cube family. Find our latest videos on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and visit us at patreon.com/thechancecube. Your patronage allows us to grow this program and help us give back to the gaming community by sponsoring events, giveaways, and supporting our own community building initiatives. This is Mike Hill, the voice of the Chance Cube. Thanks for listening. The Chance Cube is not affiliated with Fantasy Flight Games, Lucasfilms, or the Walt Disney Company.